So the article I covered this week is regarding a company called Arcasys. Arcasys is trying to launch a universal adapter for spacecraft. The idea being that they have a couple of different ideas. They want to be able to create in-orbit spacecraft using this universal adapter between different components and kind of put them all together in orbit. And they also want to enable in-orbit maintenance at a more reasonable pace. The way that I understand it is they have a couple of these maintenance missions. They said they have a 90-day timeline for setting up one of these missions, which to me seems kind of ridiculous. But your ship or your spacecraft needs maintenance, and they could send up the universal adapter maintenance mission or satellite and provide that maintenance. So there's a couple feasibility concerns here that I have, but I'm not going to get into this too much. But just the way that they talk about it seems like they're selling snake oil, if you ask me. I've done a lot of adapters for a lot of different interfaces and data types, and there's no way you can make that universal. It would require a massive team of engineers to get that working. But feasibility aside, let's talk about some of the security concerns that I kind of thought about here. So one of the big things, they talk about having a ground-based test system that is essentially a cloud-based digital twin, is what they say. There's some definite concerns here. The cloud is fairly safe, but all things considered, if there is going to be a link in that chain, the cloud would probably be it, or this ground-based test system would probably be it. That introduces this whole new internet-facing aspect to your testing that wasn't there before. And if there's a vulnerability in that, you could see a lot of issues with, now they know the types of commands that you're sending. Now they know your they might have information about your payload or about your mission specific requirements potentially from that, from seeing what testing you're doing. And depending on how top secret your mission is, you might not want that. So there's a couple other issues. Relying on space assets, I feel like that's an interesting dependency. Not necessarily a security concern per se, but if you have a mission that requires one of these in-orbit maintenance vehicles to be there, and you kind of just say, oh, well, it's going to be there, it's already there, and then your adversary goes and says, oh, you're expecting this to be there? Yeah, let's just go take that down. That would be a pretty big risk, I would say. Or if there's some issue with micrometeorite debris or any kind of space debris thing that happens in low Earth orbit, that would loss of your mission from a space vehicle is not even the vehicle that you sent up there. It would be kind of insane, if you ask me. So as far as the repairs go, the idea is that they have a universal port that can interface with any space subsystem. In the article, they call out a whole host of things. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, they say robotic arms, multispectral cameras, synthetic apertures, radar instruments, power, solar panels, propulsion launchers, metal recycling. I'm not sure exactly where they're getting that. But that is a lot for a single adapter. And one of the issues that I call out in my article with an adapter like that, if you have a malicious payload, if an attacker sends up a malicious payload that goes in and talks to this, interface, this repair arm, and is malicious, it could say, "Hey, I'm a solar panel. Look at me," even though it's not, and it would interface with it and could potentially upload malicious code. Or one of the things I thought was kind of interesting is putting essentially a skimmer on the end of the adapter. So that when it goes and interfaces with your craft, well, now they're getting all that information back, or maybe they're able to request more information than the adapter would normally ask for. And I think that would be a really interesting and hard to track hack right there. Another thing that I didn't talk about too much in the article, but updates. Whenever you have something universal like this, you need to keep it updated. Just the fact that something becomes universal means that now it's more widely accepted. Right now, a lot of spacecraft are made to mission. A lot of parts are made to mission. And if you start with something universal, well, then now everybody knows what you're using because you're using this universal interface. And when they know what it is, they can go and they can look for flaws in it. And like we see that happen every day with Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi codes, or what is it, WPA2 has vulnerabilities in it that people know about. If you don't configure your Wi-Fi right, there are vulnerabilities there that people can just abuse. If you don't configure your firewalls correctly, or just any whole host of these interfaces, and yeah. So one of the other things that kind of stood out to me in this article, there's a lot here. There's a whole host of issues. The idea that they proposed was that the port is adaptive, and it's able to adapt to any data scheme or data format, which, aside from being completely infeasible, introduces a lot of security concerns for me. When you have that much adaptability, there's going to be edge cases, and an attacker can really take advantage of those edge cases and kind of get into places they're not supposed to be. Maybe trick you into thinking they use a file format that they're not, and when you start uploading it to the machine. And this could be a threat for the mission, but also for the system they're designing, right? If you expect it to get one kind of data type and it's getting something completely different, it would process it wrong. And depending on that incorrect, it could lead to things like Stack Overflow errors or buffer out of bounds exceptions that can give them access to things they shouldn't have. It's just a whole host of problems there. I've went on for 6 minutes and 30 seconds now, so I'll stop.